Chapter 24. Megan hadn't gone far. I found her at the bottom of the tunnel, sitting on a pile of old crates just outside the hideout. I walked up, hesitantly, and she shot me a suspicious glance. Her expression softened after a moment, and she turned back to studying the darkness in front of her. She had her mobile turned all the way up to give light. I climbed up on the crates beside her and sat, but didn't speak. I wanted to have the perfect thing to say, and, as usual, I couldn't figure out what that would be. Trouble was, I basically agreed with Prof, even though it made me feel guilty that I did. I didn't have the schooling to predict what would happen to Nukago if its leader were killed. But I did know Steelheart was evil. No court would convict him, but I had a right to seek justice for the things he had done to me and mine. So I just sat there, trying to formulate something to say that wouldn't offend her, but that also wouldn't sound lame. It's harder than it seems, which is probably why I just say what comes to me most of the time. When I stop to think, I can never come up with anything. "He really is a monster," Megan eventually said. "I know that he is. I hate sounding like I'm defending him. I just don't know if killing him is going to be good for the very people we're trying to protect." I nodded. I got it. I really did. We fell silent again. As we sat, I could hear distant sounds in the corridors, distorted by the bizarre composition and acoustics of the steel catacombs. Sometimes you could hear water rushing as the city sewage pipes ran nearby. Other times I swore I could hear rats, though it baffled me what they could be living on down here. Other times the land seemed to be groaning softly. "What are they, Megan?" I asked. "Have you ever wondered that?" "You mean the epics?" she asked. "Lots of people have theories." "I know, but what do you think?" She didn't reply immediately. Lots of people did have theories, and most would be happy to tell you about them. The epics were the next stage in human evolution, or they were a punishment set by this god or that, or they were really aliens, or they were the result of a secret government project, or it was all fake and they were using technology to pretend they had powers. Most of the theories fell apart when confronted by facts. Normal people had gained powers and become epics. They weren't aliens or anything like that. There were enough direct stories of a family member manifesting abilities. Scientists claimed to be baffled by the genetics of epics, but I didn't know much about that kind of thing. Besides, most of the science were either gone now or worked for one of the more powerful epics. Anyway, a lot of the rumors were silly, but that had never stopped them from spreading and probably never would. "I think they're a test of some kind," Megan said. I frowned. "You mean like religiously?" "No, not a test of faith or anything like that," Megan said. "I mean, a test of what we will do if we have power. Enormous power. What would it do to us? How would we deal with it?" I sniffed. If the epics are an example of what we do with power, then it's better if we never get any. She fell silent. A few moments later, I heard another odd sound. Whistling. I turned and was surprised to see Cody walking down the corridor. He was alone and on foot, which meant he'd left the industrial scooter, which had pulled the crates of supplies, in the hangar. He had his gun over his shoulder and wore his baseball cap embroidered with the supposed coat of arms of his Scottish clan. He tipped the cap to us. "So, we having a party?" he asked. He checked his mobile. "Is it time for tea?" "Tea?" I asked. "I've never seen you drink tea." "I usually have some fish sticks and a bag of potato chips," Cody said. "It's a British thing. Y'all are Yanks and wouldn't understand." Something seemed off about that statement, but I didn't know enough to call him on it. "So why are the dour expressions?" Cody asked, hopping up beside us on the crates. "You two look like a pair of coon hunters on a rainy day." Wow, I thought. Why can't I come up with metaphors like that? "Prof and I got into an argument," Megan said with a sigh. "Again? I thought you two were past that. What was it about this time?" "Nothing I want to talk about." Fair enough, fair enough." Cody got out his long hunter's knife and began trimming his fingernails. "Nightwielder's been out in the city. People are reporting him all over, passing through walls, looking in on dens of miscreants and lesser epics. Has everyone on edge." "That's good," I said. "It means Steelheart is taking the threat seriously." "Maybe," Cody said. Maybe. He ain't said anything about the challenge we left him yet, and Night Wielder is checking in on a lot of irregular folk. Steelheart might suspect that someone's trying to blow smoke up his kilt. Maybe we should hit Night Wielder, I said. We know his weakness now. Might be a good idea, Cody said, fishing a long, slender device out of his hip pack. He tossed it to me. What's this? UV flashlight, he said. I managed to find a place that sold them, or, well, bulbs anyway, which I put in the flashlights and picked us up a few. Best to be ready in case Night Wielder surprises us. Do you think he'll come here? I asked. He'll start in on the steel catacombs eventually, Cody said. Maybe he started already. Having a defensible base means nothing if Night Wielder just decides to phase through the walls and strangle us in our sleep. Cheery thoughts. I shivered. At least we can fight him now, Cody said, fishing out another flashlight for Megan. But I think we're poorly prepared. We still don't know what Steelheart's weakness is. What if he does challenge Limelight? Teal will find the answer, I said. She has a lot of leads in discovering what was in that bank vault. And Firefight, Cody said. We haven't even started planning how to deal with him. Firefight, the other of Steelheart's high epic bodyguards. Megan looked at me, obviously curious as to what I'd say next. Firefight won't be a problem, I said. So you said before when you pitched this whole thing to us, but you ain't said why yet. I've talked it over with Tia, I said. Firefight's not what you think he is. I was reasonably confident about that. Come on, I'll show you. Cody raised an eyebrow, but followed as I crawled back up the tunnel. Prof already knew what my notes said, though I wasn't certain he believed. I knew he was planning a meeting to talk about Firefight and Night Wielder, but I also knew that he was waiting on Tia before moving too far ahead in the plan. If she didn't come up with the answer to how to kill Steelheart, nothing else would matter. I didn't want to think about that. Giving up now because we didn't know his weakness? It would be like finding out that you'd drawn lots for dessert at the factory and been only one number off. Only it didn't matter because Pete already snuck in to steal the dessert, so nobody was going to get any anyway. Not even Pete, because it turns out there had never been any dessert in the first place. Well, something like that. That metaphor's a work in progress. At the top of the tunnel, I led Cody to the box where we kept my notes. I flipped through them for a few minutes, noting that Megan had followed us up. She had an unreadable expression on her face. I grabbed the folder on Firefight and brought it over to the desk, spreading out some pictures. What do you know about Firefight?